Why WoW players are switching to old school RuneScape. Let's check it out, guys. Yeah, we're farming craps on the side, guys, okay?
Why are there so many World of Warcraft players switching to old school RuneScape?
I'm one of them.
You must have noticed them, right? Lurking around the Grand Exchange, trying to parse on a goblin, wondering where their ability bars are, and asking how Jagex is managing to update the game rather than re-releasing the same exact content over and over and over again.
I will say, man, as a WoW player, he's very much talking about me, right? Yo, Ben Pierce, thank you for the tier 1. Dude, it is incredibly... Listen, going from World of Warcraft over to RuneScape is incredibly frustrating because when I'm playing this game and I'm running around, like, you know, doing content and stuff like that, and I just see how much potential it would have had in WoW if they would have done kind of the same route. Maybe Blizzard will do that with Classic Plus, but dude, I'm just looking at like, dude, imagine this, dude. Like, they are just... Oh! I'm so jealous and I'm so angry that, like, WoW didn't get that kind of vibe. But, like, RuneScape has been fantastic, guys. It's so insane.
I sure did, because I'm one of those WoW players. A year and a half ago, after around half a month of MMO soul searching, I found old school RuneScape. I had quit WoW after Mythic raiding for around a decade for various reasons. I was sick of the short-form, seasonal ethos of the game, devaluing any and all of my progression, sick of the only valuable content being instanced, bored of the binary itemization and samey loot, and disheartened by Blizzard's complacency with the classic incarnation of the game. Clearly, I wasn't the only one. Mad Season, Guzu, Caradus, Savix, and more have since begun their first steps into this beloved, curated sandbox.
I think he's probably gonna get into this, but I feel like a big part of the reason, at least for myself, why I decided to do this is because I've been quite burned out on WoW because I've done a lot of classic WoW content, as you guys may know. I've done, like, you know, classic WoW, TBC, Wrath, then there was, you know, the hardcore stuff we did for a few years, and I've kind of just, like, grinded it for so long, so I took a break from WoW. And I've always wanted to check out RuneScape, and that's why I got into it. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Maybe it's not because, like, WoW is specifically in a super bad spot, but I think a lot of the classic creators might just be a little bit burned out with how much that they've played, right? Yo, what's up, Verve? Good to see you, bro. Hello, hello, hello. So I think that's a big part of it, right? And I also think it's been an interesting game that a lot of people always have wanted to check out, but never really got the chance to, right? Because it's always classic WoW or OSRS, right?
What about RuneScape seems to have translated for the World of Warcraft player, and why? First, we must acknowledge where these WoW creators come from. Unlike myself, most of them are classic WoW players, an old-school 2004 incarnation of World of Warcraft, much like old-school RuneScape is of RuneScape. Unlike OSRS, though, this version of World of Warcraft is following the timeline of WoW itself. Blizzard has been updating classic WoW every few months with new patches and eventually the very same expansions that released years ago.
Yeah. And what I really love about RuneScape is that your progress matters. Okay? It's so nice, man. Like, I'm sitting here farming crabs, right? And no matter what in the future, no matter what happens to RuneScape, this character's progress will not be gone. In Classic WoW, that's not the case, right? Because TBC comes out, all your progress will be nullified essentially, and you continue. Same thing with Season of Discovery. Season of Discovery was great, it was really fun, but I feel like the way that they made the progression being so vertical, you're basically at the end of Season of Discovery, we are now at, like, Cataclysm damage numbers. And then, like, now it's like the season is ending, so now all your progress is gone, which is a little bit of a shame. And I think that's where RuneScape OSRS really hit the nail on the coffin. Can you say that? Where, man, it's so addicting. That's what I mean with it. Like, because your character will always matter.
Initial release,
even 3 years in the future, the progress you made will still be progress.
2018 is now entering the Mists of Pandaria expansion and resembles Retail WoW, the modern game, much more than it does Classic WoW or Vanilla WoW, the version from 2004. It's interesting to imagine a version of old-school RuneScape that just kind of began releasing all the same updates, eventually ruining the game for the very same players that returned to it because it lacked those updates.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if RuneScape, obviously I don't know the end game, but like, imagine you play RuneScape, you make a character, you know, there's a fresh server, everybody plays, and then you go get your Inferno Cape, you get your Fire Cape and Inferno Cape, and you kill Yama, right? Kill Big Yama, and then after that, there's no more stuff, and then like a few months later, then you gotta do it all over again. That's essentially WoW, right?
Blizzard understood and saw this as the player base continued to shrink. Therefore, they opted for the seasonal servers that remixed the standard classic vanilla WoW experience. The Season of Mastery and eventually the Season of Discovery. These year-long servers run down the line of all the same patches that were released between 2004 and 2006.
I'll say though, Season of Discovery was actually kind of cool, but I just don't like that it was so... The progression was way too extreme with the gearing.
Some updates.
Yeah,
the latter, Season of Discovery, or SOD, introduced runes and granted all kinds of player power in the form of new abilities and many, many old ones from future expansions, as well as reworked some of the raids and even added one new raid toward the end. It was an interesting experiment. Finally, Blizzard released the Classic Anniversary servers, so just Vanilla Classic again, for a second, or some would argue, fourth time. That's the first point to take note of. These creators love WoW. Even I, to a certain extent, still do as well, especially Classic, a version of the game that I think is most tangibly an MMORPG. It's wonderful, yet regardless of your love for it, anything exceptional becomes dry over time, especially...
True. I think for me, I will always fucking love WoW, and I bet I will definitely come back and do like another Vanilla Fresh or like a hardcore run of Vanilla, but I need a little bit of like a pause from it, but it's a game that I will always be able to play.
When not allowed to exist in our mind. Being fed the same thing, as great as it may be, over and over again, doesn't foster a larger community.
You just love Blizzard? Not necessarily, but I like a lot of the games that they've made. I really like Vanilla WoW, I really like TBC. I am a big fan of Diablo 1, 2, 3, Diablo 1 and 2 as well. I think Blizzard has made some great-ass fucking games. Yeah, for sure.
Pushes those sick of it away. And the amount becoming sick only increases in time. The repeated cycles of Classic aren't getting any fresher, and next time Blizzard relaunches Classic servers, chances are they'll see even less popularity.
Warcraft,
Similarly, Blizzard has floated the idea of a Classic Plus. This has been a long-running desire from the player base. Instead of re-releasing the same content, why not add truly new content to the game?
I genuinely think there's a high chance next BlizzCon that they might announce something like this. I don't know, but I have a feeling. I feel like especially now that RuneScape is getting so much attention, maybe it's a bit of like a wake-up call for Blizzard, saying like, damn, there's really a lot of people that would like something like that, right? And if anything, and if that happens, that's great, because if there's competition in the MMO genre, it pushes the games to be even better. I mean, that's how I see it.
In many ways, SOD was experimenting in that regard. Sadly, I'm a bit concerned with this.
That might be Hovium.
First, Blizzard's survey that introduced this idea was filled with nothing even remotely interesting systemically. It had a whole host of quality of life features such as account-wide collections and graphical improvements. Essentially, they were pitching retail WoW features alongside what Blizzard does most confidently: instanced content, new raids, dungeons, and so on. I suppose that's what people want, but I also think that this will kill the game down the line. You can add new skills, new classes, however, disregarding the architecture that makes most of these things function is an issue. It may work well for retail, but that's because the modern version of WoW is competitive and singular in its vision.
It's just a different game, dude. I mean, same thing, dude. It's the same thing with RuneScape. People that play RuneScape, old school RuneScape, sorry, they don't want like the RuneScape 3 combat system. They don't want all those changes. Same thing, I think, that a lot of people that play Classic WoW, they don't want all the quality of life and all the collection stuff. They just want to play Classic WoW. And when it comes to Classic Plus, I think I can only speak for myself, obviously, but what I would like to see is I would just like to see new content, new dungeons, new zones, but nothing. I don't want that crazy progression of my character getting insanely overpowered. I just want new things to do in the game that I really loved, right?
As an exceptional combat system that is the sole point of interaction with the rest of the game. By comparison,
YouTube chat wants to know if you're single. I am very much not single, no. I have a fiance.
Classic WoW is emergent. It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it is defined by its leveling experience more so than its endgame. Because endgame in Classic WoW, the farming for pre-raid bis and then raid logging, isn't the most evocative or unique feature.
No chance.
Leveling through the enormous uninstanced open world, forming groups to take down elites and brave difficult quests, finding ways to solo bosses, just running through the dense jungles and open plains. That is Classic WoW.
Yeah.
The endgame is held together by emergent interactions never intended by the developers and seemingly never acknowledged since. The interpersonal relations of managing 40-odd raiders, the faction collusion, the war effort that saw in my—
This shit was so hype, man. Fuck me. Like, these days of Classic was so awesome, bro. Oh my god.
In my opinion, one of the best game series ever created
Barney.
around it. Even the collective flight paths to gather meticulously timed world buffs, these are the heartbeat of the game that aren't retained by just improving graphics, adding instanced player housing, and a new class. This survey saw Blizzard double down on things that are neat, I guess, but aren't what actually makes Classic WoW good. With all of that out of the way, we must also acknowledge the lull that Classic is currently in. The anniversary servers are chugging along with the 100-odd thousand players still logging weekly.
I feel, sorry, he's gonna get into this. I mean, I can't help but pause because I love this subject and it means a lot to me. I love WoW, but it's like, bro, the WoW community is so fucking, it's so split. It's crazy, man. We got Classic Era, Hardcore, Seasonal Discovery, Mr. Pandaria soon. We got the remixes, we got retail, we got like 7 versions of WoW. It's so insane.
Discovery has ended and the modern version of Classic WoW, Jesus Christ, there are so many versions, is entering an expansion that most original players aren't likely to return to.
Thunderstorm, yeah.
During this lull, people want something, and that something, for whatever reason, is old school RuneScape. RuneScape and
I feel like OSRS right now, at least for me, is filling that. It's filling that gap for an MMO that I really wanted. Because I've been doing a lot of variety lately. I've been playing other games, but man, I wanted to play some MMO. I wanted to grind something again, and then I didn't really want to do WoW because of a bit burned out on WoW. And like, okay, you know.
WoW have a combative history.
And now I'm sitting here farming crabs while watching a video about it, man. Like, god damn it.
With one another. I'm sure older players remember just how competitive and defensive these two groups were. The RuneScape versus World of Warcraft videos on the fledgling website known as YouTube were a not uncommon thing to see.
Oh yeah.
The arguments at a lunch table, the friendships broken or lost, all of it laid a foundation for many experiences.
I remember this video. This is a video shitting on RuneScape.
In the mid-2000s. And a singular truth was birthed from the din of childhood tribalism. World of Warcraft is better because it's for people whose parents are generous enough to front $15 a month for a subscription. Meanwhile, RuneScape is the kids game for losers who can only get $5 or none bucks stuck in the beleaguered free-to-play worlds like jobless middle school peasants. At that point, World of Warcraft was on top of the world. It was—
Dude, I was such a RuneScape hater as a kid. I'm gonna be real, chat. I was a hater. I thought RuneScape looked so fucking boring. I like it. I've changed my mind on that, as you guys may know, but I actually was a hater. I was a full-blown WoW Andy. I hated RuneScape back in the day.
Reaching its subscriber peak and growing. While RuneScape was undeniably a cultural force, it was always the lesser of the two. Times have kind of changed since then.
Back then, WoW was actually better. I would argue, back in 2005, 6, 8, 7, WoW was the game, bro. That was the MMO. And you played RuneScape if you couldn't play WoW. Nowadays, old school RuneScape is fucking fantastic, for sure, man. But goddamn.
Warcraft's popularity, while still at the top, has waned. The game has stagnated, failing to reach a new audience.
Yeah, since we're exploring old games, what about Anarchy Online? I'm not gonna lie, dude, I've had some weird desire to do a Diablo 1 stream. I might do that at one of these days, just like full-blown just Diablo 1. Just try to go through that game, man. I played Diablo 1 like a year ago, something like that, but I played a rogue. I would love to do a Diablo 1 playthrough as a warrior. That'd be so fucking fun. Like, just a full stream of Diablo 1. I think I might do that soon. I don't know, I've had an itch for Diablo 1.
Meanwhile, RuneScape has died and been rebirthed twice. Old school RuneScape has not only been growing, it has been thriving, especially in the past 2 years, where the player count has almost doubled. This is thanks to exceptional updates focusing on the early and mid-game experience and external community-driven marketing from creators and Jagex alike. Leagues, the limited-time Season of Discovery-esque but way crazier game mode released in late 2024, saw more than 200,000 concurrent players, and now the game is reaching up those figures without the help of leagues at all. For reference,
not bad, dude. You should look at the picture-in-picture plugin, good for reacting. This is fine for now. I don't mind doing this.
This is more concurrent players than the total individual raid logs in Classic WoW's Anniversary Edition every week. In July, we're seeing the release of the final part of the newest continent, Varlamore, and shortly after that, Old School's first entirely new skill, Sailing, which is expanding the world in ways never before seen in the game.
I haven't seen any sailing stuff yet. I'm gonna probably try it out whenever it comes out, but I've kind of just avoided looking at the sailing stuff whatsoever.
Is that all it takes for the conversion for the WoW player to give it a go? Not entirely.
No.
OSRS offers certain similarities in experience that are worth mentioning, like the emphasis on emergent gameplay. Emergence is when unique, surprising interactions arise from engagement with standard systems in a video game. For example, in WoW Classic, it was the coordination between half a dozen guilds to time their world buff drops for the most amount of players to make sure there are no overlaps. These are methods.
Hey, that's me! I remember this! This was on Classic WoW Beta. We did Wailing Caverns. Sule's tips out Navag, me, and Soda.
Of interaction
this is in 2018, I think. That's so fun.
Explicitly designed by the developers. They emerge thanks to player need and creativity. My favorite emergence system in Classic WoW was learning Dire Maul tribute runs on my Hunter all the way back in 2019. Not only was it a difficult solo challenge, but selling the loot and buffs to different players was a really cool way to earn money.
The reason why I got really addicted to Classic initially was because of dueling. I just loved dueling. I used to play on a private server called Henhouse, which was essentially just like a dueling, like if Warzone Goals, like arena server. It was super fun. That's why I got into Classic WoW initially. And then eventually I started enjoying more of like parsing and doing raids. And then eventually it became more about questing and the journey and shit. I don't know, I just explored all the avenues of the game.
These things don't exist in retail WoW. The game has been meticulously designed to be balanced and competitive. Therefore, any outliers such as this are immediately patched out. There's even a refrain popularized by players calling out this behavior. Fun detected, they say in unison, as Blizzard removes an emergent mechanic that may trivialize something. In OSRS, this happens less. The line between exploit and emergence is thinner. It is also encouraged with the existence of the Wilderness, a zone where PvP is enabled and—
fuck this zone, dude. Man, I went in here, dude. This shit's scary, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Upon dying, you drop your loot. If you are not the aggressor, or unskulled, you retain 3 of your most expensive items, and if you are skulled, the aggressor, you lose everything. There is a tangible risk-reward in the Wilderness that makes it unlike anything else in theme park MMOs. It has singles areas for one-on-ones and multi-combat zones for group fights, fostering a truly sprawling and occasionally terrifying environment. It has its issues, but is ultimately a totally unique element of—
I think the Wilderness is freaking awesome. As a new player, having some sort of like, I don't know, just like a massive PvP area in the game that like is just scary is so cool. I think it's awesome.
RuneScape. The open world PvP during Classic WoW's heyday was kind of similar to this. If you decided to play on a PvP server, it wasn't uncommon to run into roving warbands of bloodthirsty players farming honor points on random people.
True.
It created a hide-and-seek leveling experience that definitely got tiresome, but was pretty crazy nonetheless. This system is only begotten to Wilderness in Old School, so it's a bit more manageable there. Of course, in PvP, death is nowhere near as punishing in WoW as you only lose time, but the general ethos of open PvP is worth considering as a point of interest. OSRS has emergence that extends far past PvP too. It wouldn't be far-fetched to suggest that the vast majority of PvE bosses in RuneScape have emergent mechanics defining them, whether it be safe spotting Dagannoth Kings, butterflying Akka, soloing Cox, and anything in between. Even the skilling in OSRS is...
I will say, it sounds so weird because we're talking about an MMO, right? Massively multiplayer online game, but I really love that I can just play solo. I can just log into RuneScape and I can pretty much do everything by myself. I think that's so nice, and if I want to play with someone else, I can. And you can do group content, you can do quests together. I just love that you can do solo content, because I love just grinding. I just love farming things, questing, exploring by myself. It's so fun, and then I can go play with someone if I really want to.
Often thought of as an emergent experience thanks to tick manipulation being a valid method for a lot of players. It also has an effective blend of communality and solo expression.
Forced group content is my bane. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the option to do group content is great, but if it's forced upon you always, I don't think that's necessarily the best, right?
Some of the most difficult content in OSRS is solo. However, the experience of playing the game itself is a lot more communal. Not in the sense that it demands grouping, that's not the only method of multiplayer communality, just being around others is enough. Because the game isn't linear in its progression, it's a sandbox. No zone is ever out-leveled or outright devalued.
What the heck, Guzu? What about the hundreds of people on your 60 attack party? You have to admit that it's the spirit of the game. No, dude, no, I think you're misunderstanding my my take here. What I'm saying is that I love that you can log into the game and you can do a bunch of stuff by yourself, and it's fun content. You have raids, you can do solo dungeons, you can do quests, everything. But it's still an MMO, so you can still experience all those things with other people. With having a party, like we got the Dragon Scimitar the other night. I got level 60 attack, and we threw a freaking party, and everybody was there. It was awesome. But you don't have to play with people if you really don't want to, right? You can do whatever you want. And I think that's the beauty of RuneScape. You kind of make your own journey. There's a lot of things that is very grindy, that are things that require skill, that are things that are just AFKable. You can literally do anything. And I think that's the beauty of the game.
Just as likely to see high-level players in Varrock, the second city most players go to, as you are in the elven city of Prifdinas. Mario. Not only does this make the game feel more alive, it also creates the emergent experience of seeing someone, as soon as you zone in, wearing way cooler shit than you are, and giving you something to aspire to as a result. This is of course dead in retail WoW thanks to the overabundance of cosmetic overrides applying inane visuals to anyone, anywhere, making it...
I'm not a big fan of transmog, but it's such a big part of WoW these days that you can't even hate on it at this point. People want it, right?
It's impossible to tell if someone is a badass because they cleared a mythic raid or just swiped their credit card or farmed an old piece of content while watching YouTube videos on another monitor. Classic WoW, at least the original version, didn't have cosmetic overrides, so being able to actually see what someone is wearing lent a credible aura of authenticity to the game world and its player base. Everything felt of that world, and the items being worn gained an aesthetic value. They were recognized. The legendary armaments were legendary. That has since faded in time thanks to the repeated launches and eventual mastery of all the content, but it did exist at one point. Because it's persistently updated, OSRS never lost that, and while certain gear may be less impressive today than it was in 2015 or 2005, new gear has taken its place.
I think it's cool though. Mofford says he doesn't like the looks of the RuneScape items. I actually don't mind it. I feel like the RuneScape... items, they look simple, but they don't look bad. I like whenever armor looks simple. Like it doesn't look like some crazy fucking shit. This is like a simple piece of gear and it looks like actual armor, yeah.
Seeing someone in Sanguine Torva or the newly released Radiant Oathplate armor, especially
cool.
if they achieve these things on an Iron Man, is incredibly impressive.
I'm a hardcore man, by the
Just
way.
having that communally recognized value promotes more people to seek that recognition. After all, flexing your hard-earned achievements is a core part of existing alongside other people, whether it be in-game or not. World of
XQC flexes his $300,000 watch. Bro,
Warcraft, at least right now, is failing to offer a permanent home for its players, asking them time and time again to recreate the same characters and re-experience the same events.
Bro, I wish Classic WoW
Hey! What's this? This looks like Firecape shit.
had these challenges. Goodness gracious, man.
Hey, that's not bad.
These are so
That's
cool.
the last bat wave. I have a decent amount of prayer.
This is exactly what I've been
56
asking
also
for
had a
forever.
bit of a sketchy lore, but not one that I haven't done before.
It's funny, I criticize Retail WoW for becoming a fleeting seasonal experience that devalues everything you've earned every new patch, but Classic WoW has become that too. With every new incarnation, it resets everyone back to zero and asks them to run that treadmill again. Blizzard is plagued by the disease of seasonality. They seem...
Dude, the main thing, I honestly, I don't even know if the classic people would even want anything like RuneScape, because the whole fresh meme is so deeply ingrained into classic WoW players that maybe they wouldn't want it. I don't know. I feel like it could do really fucking good though. I think if they took that same idea that RuneScape has with the you know, with the polling system and the horizontal content release, I think that could do really good, but yeah.
Incapable of creating...
Leagues would be good for them. Yeah, I agree.
Anything outside of that paradigm, because it is the only way to foster...
How did you know that that was Firecape shit? Because I have taken a fairy ring over to the Firecape area and my chat went, "Ah, Boba, this is Firecape area." So I know what the zone looks like with Firecape.
Engagement in their eyes. Perhaps that's more a fault of the theme park MMO than it is of their own creativity. The Season of Discovery, being seasonal in name, also operated this way. It had incremental level gates, 20, 30, 40, and so on, that acted like miniature expansion releases with a new raid, some new content, and new abilities and other stuff. Blizzard, being tied to this seasonal model, was terrified of making players feel like they need to catch up to their friends, so they caught up for them. Level boosts, experience boosts, and so on.
Yeah.
It became so disconnected conceptually from the original classic, the original vanilla, the experience people originally connected with, that it asked them to skip it entirely.
I think a big problem with Season of Discovery, at least from myself, was that I think they tried to cater to way too wide of an audience, right? They tried to make it a game for classic WoW, for the classic people, and they also tried to make it a game for the retail people, right? I think if they want to do a classic game, they should try to cater it towards the classic audience, right? And do it like such. I feel like he's shitting on WoW. I don't think he's fully shitting on it. I think the a lot of the messages about the video is definitely about what WoW could do better and like how the two games differentiate from each other, right? Which I think is a fine discussion to have if you want both games to do well, you know? Longat, thank you for the prime.
Expediting the leveling.
He's being critical, and I think that's fair.
In Classic is like offering maraschino cherries as the dessert itself. It's like the rosemary being garnished by the steak. It makes absolutely no sense and caters to a demographic of players that exist antithetically to an MMO. The genre is defined by persistent engagement, a world that continues living.
I saw Fox do this boss as well. This is like a raid, I think, with like multiple bosses and shit.
By promoting momentary engagement for incredibly short periods of time, you create artificial bursts of popularity and then long lulls where most prospect players don't want to join because it looks dead. But here we are today. Players clearly want some kind of emergent experience in a growing game. One of my favorite examples of this was actually in Classic WoW's anniversary servers released only a little while ago. Fangs. A content creator-driven guild.
I knew he was gonna talk about this at some point. I knew it was gonna be brought up.
Conceptualized by streamer Soda Poppin'.
Yeah.
It was a communal experiment, a creator house like you'd see back in 2016, but done in World of Warcraft. It was a persistently running reality television show that tested the mental fortitude of all those involved, because Fangs was less so about the game and more so about people interacting with one another through the game.
I think the big reason why this became so good was, first of all, because of the add-ons and the in-game voice chat and all that stuff, but I feel like, to me, it felt like playing vanilla WoW back in 2005 with a guild full of, like, I wouldn't say friends, but like a guild full of like people you can talk to and hang out with, and you have friends within that guild, right? It was just fun, man. It was just good-ass fun. The reason I was saying, some people were not that good friends, but, you know, it was fun.
You think that's look at that speed. Oh my god, the holy shit!
No, Pima, you've gotten every single item!
You have gotten one item.
He's gotten it, and it's good for Warrior! You've gotten every item, bro!
Dude, listen. I'll pass if you come to my stream and rate my physique.
Wait, what?
Holy
Yeah, that's P-Love, alright. That's P-Love, alright.
I was not expecting that a bodysuit? Wait, this guy is shredded.
There you go. I'm like blocking his body, guys. I'm sorry.
What's your body fat percentage?
I followed Tyler 1's journey through the guild's rise and eventual dissolution. Tyler 1 is, of course, another streamer, popular for his abrasive and somewhat controversial personality and exceptional League of Legends play.
I didn't know Tyler was such a big RuneScape player as well. Apparently he really is.
Never having played Classic WoW before, he ventured into Fangs with an open mind. Fangs was created on the hardcore server, meaning that if you die, you lose your character. And simultaneously, the guild ran alongside a host of add-ons, or in RuneScape terminology, plugins, that created race-driven competitions. Undead, Tauren, Orcs, and Trolls all competed against one another through this external system. There were raffles, battles, arguments, and everything in between. During this process, I watched Tyler 1 learn the game, go from meandering around, keyboard turning, and sometimes forgetting to attack, to running a 40-man raid.
So cool.
His interaction with different content creators, his fabricated drama with Soda Poppin', his insistence to essentially roleplay a rise to power, narrativized the entire experience.
It was so good. I think genuinely, man, no cap on a stack, I think Fangs Season 2 was some of the best content we've had on Twitch in many years. That shit was so fun. I was a part of it, obviously, but I remember waking up every morning, just going through all the clips, seeing what everybody got up to all the time. And there was always something happening. Some RP, someone dying, some drama. Like, it was so good. It was peak content.
Did so well that when he died, it became a legendary moment within the community, while leading
and then we hit level 60, and I feel like it kind of fell off a bit. But the first few weeks of RuneScape, Fangs, was really good.
A raid into Molten Core, battling the fire elemental Baron Geddon, Tyler 1 was faced with a decision. Go for the kill, DPSing down the final few percent and healing through the AoE explosions, or play it safe, run away. His fatal call was to DPS, go full hog as they say, Zug the Zuggler, full send, and his shouts echoed through the voice call, unaware that many had already begun to run, because when a death means a reset of your progress, it's every man for himself.
If you're not aware, guys, if you're RuneScape people, you don't like WoW or watch WoW, hardcore WoW, you don't lose the status. Your character actually dies and it's gone. So it's not like a status you lose and then you're like normal Iron Man. Your character's just gone.
Back in, everybody back in, everybody back in. I'm death wishing. Big heals. Big heals on me! Big heals on me! I'm death wishing. Big heals on me.
Holy shit.
Big heals on me!
You can't listen!
Big heals on me! You can't listen! Finish it! Don't run! Finish! Finish! Don't run! Finish! Finish!
Oh my god!
GG!
The boss fell, but not without the death of many of those brave enough to fight alongside their war chief in his final moments.
I wasn't in this raid.
This felt like the end of the story, and for many it was.
Yeah,
it was facilitated by Classic WoW, by the hardcore servers, by the raid itself, but this existed only due to the emergent methods through which these creators decided to approach this re-release. Why do I bring this up though? For an OSRS player, it may be obvious. This happens all the fucking time in RuneScape. Not on the same scale as Fangs, and Sodapoppin's achievement of managing to wrangle in the egos of dozens, if not hundreds, of content creators for months was unlike anything I've ever seen, but in a microcosm. This
Hold on, guys. I got a casket. Just want to open and see what it is. We got a ruby. Okay. We're almost leveling up my strength, by the way.
This is RuneScape's most common creator-driven element. The best comparison is Deadman All-Stars, wherein a large OSRS content creator, Solo Mission, teamed up with Jagex by obtaining a custom server wherein 35 of the largest content creators in the game created teams of 5 in a full PvP version of the game.
That's so cool.
Almost every area became dangerous.
This is such a cool concept, man. Dude, man, the Jagex mods are they are so fucking sick, man. They're great.
In these servers, all 35 creators had expedited experience rates and drops, and a bit over a week of time to gear up for the finale. A King of the Hill style one-on-one deathmatch where they, donning the gear they've collected, were put to the test against one another. The 10-day period that this event spanned was amongst the most fun in the game's history, as following the individual and group-wide achievements and battles became so many people's day-to-day habit. The battles fought, the gear lost, the upsets, the strategies, the drama. It felt like a condensed version of Fangs buoyed by each creator's personality.
Wait, is it the when it registers meme? Is that from DMM as well?
Loudest of which was Odablock.
Yeah.
Odablock is the largest old-school RuneScape streamer. He, much like Tyler1, is an abrasive, controversial figure with a huge fan base. He's also one of the best PvPers in the entire game. He was the captain for the Odablock Warriors, and throughout this event, they became, in some ways, the focal point, the core narrative. In the draft, Odablock recruited what was considered to be the strongest set of PvPers. They were the only ones capable of defeating the Solo Mission Snakes, a team labeled as this season's villains. This was because they had a rather toxic player that received a yellow card for potentially stream sniping.
Wait! Is that why you guys kept putting yellow cards in my chat? I wonder why this thing became spammed so often. Oh, thank you, Maester. I watched a little bit of Gilnor games the other night. Oh my god. UAV online. Okay. Interesting.
This was made worse by this player's previous history of less than honorable behavior, to put it simply. On top of this,
I don't know the full lore of this. Frankly, I'm not gonna get into it. It is what it is.
Felt as
I'm gonna remain blissfully ignorant.
The Snakes didn't have a particularly fun way of playing, as they locked down a specific area of the game and farmed it, all the while taking on group fights to snowball their growing advantage. On the day of the finale, tensions were high. Odablock broke over 100,000 concurrent viewers, and simultaneously the old school and RuneScape streamers had a collective concurrent viewership of over 150,000.
That's crazy.
To say that this event gained traction would be an understatement. As the Warriors began their first fight, it wasn't looking good. Good players fell early, and in this King of the Hill style system, the person who defeated the other remained in battle, granting the opposing team the ability to snowball an advantage. The cards did not look to be in the Warriors' favor, but Odablock himself hadn't yet stepped in the ring.
Ooh, is he him or what? He's that good.
Bell rung and his character moved in, he disconnected. His entire home was DDoSed, and the competition, for a brief moment, was put on hold.
Of the Warriors, what can he do to claw this fight back?
Ooh.
Come on, you are Oda Block. Play like Oda Block.
No, I think this is actually a
That sucks, though.
decision. With
That's so shit, dude.
sigils, yeah. He's got the sigil of the meticulous mage.
Like, I don't know, man. It did... You know...
Got that extra 40 accuracy bonus.
Hey, for Sylvan, 61 strength, guys. Just a little update. We just dinged 60. Dude, 60. Look at these stats, guys. Look at these stats. 60, 61, 60, 59. Freaking, I'm 74 combat level, by the way, chat. What the fuck?
So he can afford to sit in this tanky Verak skirt for some of the freezes.
That's
when
me
he
told.
knows.
Was it like instantly or after a little bit?
So, somebody did ask me, bro. It has to be because I didn't even start yet. I didn't even start yet. As soon as I crossed the border, I DC'd. Wow, that's so fucking cringe.
That
I don't know
sucks.
what to do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what to do because the phone, the hotspot just can't. It can't hold it. It can't hold.
Are you able to change house? People are spamming. I'm not sure if that's.
Did he watch this live? I think this might have been the same instance that I watched live. I'm not sure.
Cool. Like, how long would it take you if that could happen? How long would that take you?
I could try it. Yeah, maybe like 5 minutes.
This was when we watched live. Yeah.
He rushed over to a friend's home, mouse and keyboard in hand, in an effort to continue the fight. However, it just wasn't the same. It is one thing to play on a friend's setup, and that alone doesn't feel great.
Sucks.
But to do so in such a high-stakes, high-skill competition, it's borderline impossible. While he performed admirably, his misclicks were noticeable. The precision needed to play old-school RuneScape well is beyond any other MMO.
I mean, it's all about precision, right? And if you're playing at a friend's house, I mean, I don't know. It's not... I don't know. You're way more comfortable at your own setup. You just are. It doesn't even... It's not even just... Oh, maybe you bring the same mouse, the same keyboard. That doesn't matter. It's like the monitor, the placement, the table, the setting. You just feel comfortable at your own setup. It's so different.
So even a small change in setup create massive gaps in performance.
Plugins, everything.
Ultimately, the Warriors performed well, but they did not win. Their matches were the most watched, and in many ways, after their elimination, that story concluded.
This is a really good video. I like this.
I bring up these two somewhat similar examples to showcase...
Oh, we just hit 60 HP, guys. Holy shit. Kind of cranking it, dude. Let's go.
...and overlap, a way to engage with the game that sometimes doesn't put the game first. This engagement uses it to uplift something else entirely, a community-driven event, a creator-designed story, a personally aspired to goal. The overlap between old-school RuneScape and WoW Classic isn't systemic. These games aren't similar. As Sodapoppin said while watching some OSRS videos, RuneScape is the bane for WoW players. It utilizes an entirely different skill set that doesn't translate. You'd think that would be a point of aversion, yet it isn't, because the point of connection is far more important for a lot of people. WoW players might be looking for something more permanent as they currently linger in the seasonal lull, a period between when their progress finished and when they must start it all again.
I will say I agree with this. Coming from World of Warcraft, none of the skills that I have gathered in WoW matters for RuneScape. It's literally like a whole new game, but it is an MMO, and that is what is so enticing for me, right?
Point of reflection that surely has some ask, why do I want to do it all again? To summarize, the lull that World of Warcraft is in currently, as every version of the game is between releases, has made its most prolific content creators branch out. This may not be a permanent investment, but it surely is interesting to see. These two old titans of the industry are still rubbing shoulders, but the balance of power might have started to change.
A little bit.
If there's ever a time to visit old school RuneScape, it's now, on the cusp of its largest update. The benefit...
Yeah, I've also heard that there's a lot of... Like, RuneScape is just in a really good state right now. Like, the best it's been in a long time, from what I understand.
Of it being a curated sandbox is that each edition is additive. The game has only become larger with time. It doesn't cannibalize itself with seasonal content. That alone could be something interesting to players that have become so accustomed to being cannibalized. I was one of them, after all, tired of spending months earning what became cosmetic overrides devalued by a glut of cosmetic overrides. WoW felt like it was shrinking, not in player base per se, but as a world. With every addition, with every update, the amount of land expands, but the relevant content only inhabits a smaller and smaller fraction of it.
True. Whenever there's a new WoW content coming out, let's say now with Mr. Pandaria, okay, well now we just go to Pandaria, right? And then, you know, the next expansion comes out, oh, now we go to the next zone that's here, right? And all the other stuff becomes obsolete outside of, like, I don't know, transmog farming, right? That's pretty much it. I think, in a way, that's why I'm like, I really, really love Vanilla WoW as well, because the whole world matters in Vanilla, which I really like. Like, you can, even as a max level, like, you still go to, you know, older zones and, like, do all that shit, which is awesome. And even in when you're max level in WoW, in level 60, sorry, and you're at, let's say, AQ 40, you can still go back and do dungeons and they have worthwhile stuff and you can do raids. It's cool, you know?
It was refreshing to step into a world as persistent as my kitchen and the roof over my head. The long-form nature of old school RuneScape's progression incentivized me to pursue the grind, rather than recoil from it, because I knew that every time I inched closer to my goal, that goal wouldn't leap ahead by miles every half year. It would remain, and a new goal would be added somewhere between or somewhere after.
Cool.
Retail doesn't offer a home, even when the developers are hard at work on the player-owned housing system, because retail is as acommunal as possible. There is almost no emergence within its body because the intent of the game has disconnected entirely from its roots as an MMORPG. There is no...
Retail WoW for me is okay. It's just such a seasonal game. A new thing comes out, you play it for... I would play it for a few weeks, and then I would get kind of bored, and that's it. And then, you know, something new would come out, and that's it, right?
Core leveling experience.
I get the feeling he's not fond of retail. Oh, this guy? Probably not. I assume this guy is very similar to me in terms of he liked Vanilla WoW Classic and stuff like that, and now he's trying out RuneScape, right? Some people like retail, and that's fair. Awesome. They're having fun. That's great.
No overworld organization.
He said he was a mythic raider. Yeah, he did say that. But I mean, same thing. I don't know. WoW players, I feel like they kind of go back and forth. But from what he's been talking about in the video, he seems like a classic WoW player to me. But maybe he, you know, dibbled into retail as well. True. So he did mention the mythic raiding. Yeah, that's true.
No coordination needed for anything that isn't small group instanced content. It's a game split down the middle, a single-player lonely adventure through a barren overworld, flitting between checklist slop and the next instance dungeon, and the instance dungeon itself. For those that love this about retail, the ability to hop into a game and in a weekend find yourself caught up to everyone else, that's perfect, and likely why most would feel alienated by RuneScape. On the other hand, Classic WoW offers a bountiful leveling experience. The heights of Fangs were never the raids, they were the journey to get to them. The leveling of Classic is, for those who do it, amongst the best gaming experiences because it effortlessly mixes flow state calm with heart-pumping danger.
The best part about Classic WoW is leveling, getting all your pre-biz gear, and then the first raid. After that, it loses a bit of the vibe, because the grind no longer is there. And if the grind isn't there, then it becomes less intriguing, right? That's why a lot of people do, okay, let's grind rank 14, because now I have something to work towards. They get rank 14, well, now there's nothing to do, right? And I think RuneScape, OSRS, have managed to take the leveling experience and pre-biz farming and then the first raid from WoW, and then make that the whole fucking game. Like, the entire game is that. Which is what is so crazy. Because they've managed to take the best thing and make that the entire thing. That's why it's so successful. Yeah.
Especially on hardcore servers. Old school RuneScape is something different. It is a game on a separate path. Matt Season is a classic WoW content creator who has cataloged his journey into old school RuneScape without guide.
That's my video. on Matt Season's video. I mean, dude, his videos are great, but that's my video.
And for those who have watched...
It's a slight mistake in editing, I guess. It happens.
His videos have surely seen, Matt Season
He said it in the comments, did he really? I realized it's actually Guzu. That's so funny. No, I just think that's funny. That's cool.
Pulling from game knowledge outside of his classic World of Warcraft pool because the skill set he obtained through WoW has not translated. But the appeal of slowly, often arduously moving through the world and becoming lost in the maze of systems and incomprehensible functions has evoked feelings that leveling in Classic once did.
Yep.
Not today, when leveling has become expected and understood, but back then, before the re-release, when every step felt fresh.
Damn, good video. There was a lot of interesting talks in this, I think, guys. I mean, let me know what you guys think as well. Obviously, I'll link the video, I'll link the channel, guys. What an awesome essay about just MMOs and RuneScape versus WoW in general. I hope that, you know, a lot of people will realize what makes RuneScape so great. Maybe Blizzard will do something in terms of Classic Plus. That's a bit of a copium, we'll see. But this was a good session, guys. I really enjoyed this. Theory-wise OS is the channel, guys. Check out the video, check out his channel, subscribe to him, guys. What an awesome conversation, what an awesome subject to talk about as well. Really, really liked it. That was super cool, guys.